Sehr geehrte
shareholders, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the Supervisory Board and the Management Board, I'd like to welcome you all here today at the Congress Center in Düsseldorf. As Chairman of the Supervisory Board, I take over the chairmanship of the meeting in accordance with the Articles of Association and hereby open this year's annual general meeting of Uniper SE punctually. In addition to shareholders and shareholder representatives, I'd also like to extend a warm welcome to interested guests and media representatives. I'm particularly pleased that students from the Business School for Economics and Administration, Berufskolleg für Wirtschaft und Verwaltung in Aarhus, and from the Rhine-Waal University of Applied Sciences accepted our invitation, and that a younger generation is apparently interested in our company. I'd also like to welcome my Supervisory Board colleagues and Mr. Delbrück, Mr. Martin, and Mr. Rümmler from the Management Board. Mr. Schäfer, Chairman of the Management Board, is unfortunately unable to be present today due to serious illness. In the name of the company, and I wish on your behalf too, I'd like to wish him all the best. May get well soon. Mr. Delbrück will therefore speak on behalf of the Management Board at today's annual general meeting. The time since the annual general meeting in 2018, which was taking place in Essen, as you will know, was once again marked by numerous events. Mr. Delbrück and I will go into this in more detail in the report by the Management Board and the Supervisory Board respectively. But first, let me say a few words about the formalities. I note that today's annual general meeting was convened in due form and good time by promulgation in the Federal Gazette, Bundesanzeiger, on April 12, 2019. The request of the shareholder Cornwall GmbH & Co. KG to supplement the agenda was also published in the Federal Gazette on the 12th of April 2019. A further request to supplement the agenda of the shareholder KVIP International VLP was published in due form and good time on the 26th of April 2019 in the Federal Gazette. All publications in connection with the convening of the meeting, these two supplements will be explained by myself in more detail later. All publications in connection with the convening of the meeting, including the necessary documents, have been published on the website of Uniper SE. The brochure containing the agenda and the proposed resolutions, including additions to the agenda, was also sent to you. On the website of Uniper SE, we've also provided you with information regarding the handling of personal data of Uniper SE shareholders. In addition to the documents sent with the invitation, you can obtain them here at the information desk in the anteroom of this hall, where you can also view other documents. These are in particular the annual financial statements and the consolidated financial statements of the company for fiscal 2018, with a combined management report and the report of the Supervisory Board, including the supplement to the report of the Supervisory Board dated the 2nd of May 2019, which was published on the website on the 3rd of May 2019, as well as the current version of the Articles of Association of Uniper SE. This year, the notarial record will be drawn up by the Notary Public Professor Dr. Zimmermann from Düsseldorf on my left. He is supported by Düsseldorf-based Notary Public Dr. Hauschild. Dr. Hauschild is sitting at the speaker's registration desk, and he's going to record potentially unanswered questions, criticism of the procedure, points of order, and objections. In order not to disturb the proceedings of this meeting, may I ask you exclusively to report to the speaker's registration desk if you want to request it for, and not to ask the chair or Notary Public Dr. Zimmermann to do so. Professor Dr. Zimmermann will take a copy of the convening documents with the agenda, including the additions to the agenda and the detailed resolutions, as an annex to the minutes. The list of shareholders participating themselves or through representatives is currently being drawn up. Once it's been produced, but in any case before the first vote, it'll be available for inspection in electronic form, as I see it, in the vestibule of this room on the left-hand side of the counter. The ante-room is on the opposite side of this stage. Changes that occur during the course of the meeting will be kept under review. As soon as the creation is completed and the first presence is available, I will gladly inform you about it. The meeting venue consists of this hall and the adjoining rooms accessible to you on this level, this side of access control. The annual general meeting will also be broadcast there. As long as you don't leave this area, you remain in the presence area, the attendance area. However, participation in votes and requests to speak, questions and motions are only possible here in this hall. All the items on the agenda will be either discussed at a first debate with regard to individual items on the agenda or in the general debate. There, you can take part with your speech and direct your questions to the Management Board and the Supervisory Board. If you wish to do so, I'd ask you for your prior written request to speak with your name and also the subject of your request to speak or your questions at the requesting table. The speaker's registration desk, as seen by me, here to the front, right, of the first rows of seats. They will also receive a form for registration. If you have a point of order or wish to speak about the rules of procedure, I'd like to ask you to inform us in writing at the requesting table so that I can decide quickly on the proper handling of your matter. I will provide you with additional information on the details of the debate before we begin. We shall vote on the subjects of the resolutions, and to this end I will expressly draw attention to the start of the vote by means of a gong. I will explain the voting procedure to you in more detail at the beginning. However, I'd like to point out to you already now that you only need your AGM card to participate, which you received at the entrance in exchange for an admission ticket. You don't need a voting carnet, as you will note from the past from other annual general meetings. If you have several admission tickets for different shareholdings, please exchange each for one AGM card. This is the only way to ensure that the entire shareholding is included in the list of attendance and can be taken into account in the subsequent voting. The votes will then be collected in electronic form during the voting process using your AGM card or AGM cards. I'll introduce the exact procedure to you later. However, please keep the AGM card, in any case, in a safe place. However, if you leave the annual general meeting before it ends, I'd ask you to present your AGM card at exit control in any case. If you leave the AGM early, you still have various options to exercise your voting right. You can authorize another participant to exercise your voting right on your behalf, or grant the Uniper SE proxies a power of attorney with instructions. You can use the power of attorney form on your AGM card for this purpose. If you wish to authorize another participant to exercise your voting right on your behalf, please hand in the appropriate power of attorney form at the exit and hand over the AGM card to the authorized representative. If you wish to authorize a proxy of Uniper SE, please hand in the completed power of attorney form together with your instructions on the AGM card at the exit. Detailed information on authorizing other participants on Uniper SE proxies can also be found on the AGM card. The opening of the annual general meeting by me and Mr. Delbrück's speech for the Management Board will be broadcast live on the internet and made available there too afterwards. This year, Mr. Delbrück will, as an exception, report to the annual general meeting because of the serious illness of Mr. Klaus Schäfer. In chairing the meeting, I'll make every effort to ensure that the agenda and the annual general meeting are dealt with promptly in the interest of all participatory shareholders. Audio and image recordings by participants of the annual general meeting, also by means of cameras and recording devices and mobile telephones, are not allowed. I'd also like to ask you to keep your mobile phones on mute. Ladies and gentlemen, this will enable us to enter the agenda, which this year consists of 11 items. These are known to you from the invitation brochure, as well as the published additions to the agenda, or apparent from them, so that I would like to be brief in this respect. Agenda item 1 provides for the presentation of the annual financial statements and consolidated financial statements of Uniper SE for the 2018 fiscal year, together with the management report and the report of the Supervisory Board. I will therefore now gladly give the floor to the Management Board to explain the documents under this agenda item and to report on the situation of your company. Mr. Delbrück, please take the floor.
Shareholders, ladies and gentlemen, together with my colleagues on the Board of Management, Keith Martin and Eckhard Rümmler, I'd like to welcome you to your company's annual general meeting in 2019. Of course, we'd also like to welcome all shareholder representatives, members of the media, and all other guests and friends of Uniper, particularly our retirees. I'm very pleased that you, our owners, have expressed your interest in this exciting company by joining us here today. After 2 years of, if you like, temporary residence in the Grugerhalle in Essen, our annual general meeting is now also here in Düsseldorf, and we've arrived in Düsseldorf as well. And perhaps I should add, Uniper is here to stay. Your company's headquarters are here in Düsseldorf. In late March, we brought together the expertise of about 2,400 colleagues at our office complex in Düsseldorf's Media Harbour. Now, colleagues from our commercial business, the management of our generation business, and corporate functions work side by side and no longer at a variety of locations in Düsseldorf and the surrounding area. This physical proximity brings us closer together as a team as well. We'll considerably simplify interactions between departments, improve information flows, and enhance knowledge transfer. In short, we're enhancing our team spirit and are even better equipped to support our employees' development and to empower and encourage each one to make his or her individual contribution to Uniper's success. Our employees already have a strong entrepreneurial spirit. They take on responsibility for their fields of responsibility for the company, for themselves, and for their colleagues. At our company, employees have the freedom to use leeway to develop innovative business for the future. And just less than 4 weeks ago, they demonstrated their team spirit and combined their energy together in another way by having 10 Uniper relay teams in Düsseldorf Marathon. Makes us, the management board, both happy and proud. I therefore like to take this opportunity to say thank you. Thank you to our employees and managers for their tireless efforts and outstanding dedication to Uniper. Occupational health and safety is an important foundation for our successful operations. I'm pleased to be able to tell you that in 2018 we had 14% fewer occupational accidents than in the previous year. Specifically 57 incidents compared to 66 in the previous year, although we had several major construction sites. This is the best safety performance in our history. In addition, the Handelsblatt, German business newspaper, and the IAS Foundation named us the company with the best health protection in Germany's energy sector. Although these accomplishments are very gratifying, for us they are no reason to sit back and relax. Indeed, they spur us on to make additional efforts in this area, because every workplace accident is one too many. Another challenging year lies behind us. once again, we must say, despite a large number of external factors and fundamental changes, we've remained calm, focused on our business, and systematically implemented our strategy. And we did so despite some very difficult moments. Last summer, Klaus Schäfer informed us that he had cancer and that for the time being, the required treatment would prevent him from performing his duties as the CEO. Each day, our thoughts are with him and his family. We wish Klaus Schäfer all the very best, continued fortitude, and a complete recovery. Since then, Keith Martin, Eckhard Rimmel, and myself have divided Klaus Schäfer's duties amongst ourselves. A situation like this brings people even closer together as a team. Our senior leaders have also taken on more responsibility, and thus helped us keep Uniper on course at all times. We placed Uniper on a strategically, operationally, and financially solid foundation, and in 2018 thus completed the first chapter of Uniper's success story. Together we then opened a new chapter in Uniper's strategy and decided on the first projects to implement the company's growth phase. Starting the week after next, this phase will continue under the leadership of a reconfigured management board. At that time, Andreas Schierenbeck will succeed Klaus Schäfer as CEO and Sascha Bibert me as CFO. Chairman of the Supervisory Board will introduce them both in a moment. Ladies and gentlemen, the rapid solution for the Management Board succession is very positive news. There will be no gaps. On the contrary, the team has remained intact and now has two more experienced managers. The period of uncertainty was very brief. In times that are so challenging for Uniper, this is good and an important sign, particularly for Uniper's roughly 12,000 employees, for our customers, and also for you, our owners. On behalf of the Board of Management and our employees, I'd like to thank the Supervisory Board for this explicitly. Dear Mr. Schierenbeck, dear Mr. Bibert, I'd like to express my best wishes for a great start and the best of success in your new roles and in tackling the challenges of the future. I can assure you that our people's extensive expertise and high degree of dedication are the best prerequisites for continuing to successfully lead Uniper into the future. Allow me to take another look back at what we have achieved, a solid foundation on which Uniper now stands. Still remember well the many public comments, some of them very critical, about the founding of Uniper. We were often called a bad bank and even a remainders table. One newspaper's headline on the morning of our public listing on the 16th of September 2016 was, "This is going to be a bloodbath." But we've always proven critics wrong, because even the opening price was higher than anticipated. This altered the public's perception, and people suddenly recognized our potential. We knew we had potential, and this was confirmed over the subsequent weeks and months by the performance of our stock price. Uniper's stock price currently is 26.21 euros, an increase of 150% since our listing, and our market capitalization is now roughly 9.6 billion euros. Since our listing, we've worked systematically on our lasting value creation, and you, in fact, this shows that you trust us and our activities. We have enhanced our transparency and thus the market's understanding of our business. We've improved our performance and, above all, our balance sheet and reduced our debt. We've always worked to optimize our portfolio. Examples include the sale of our stake in Yuzhno-Russkoye, the gas field in Russia, and more recently the sale of our stake in OLT, offshore LNG Toscana, and our remaining stake in Uniper of Brazil. Improvement of your company's cost situation is another success story. It's an indispensable prerequisite for us to compete successfully in the hotly contested energy marketplace. Our restructuring and cost-cutting program has been completed. Starting last year, our annual controllable costs are 400 million euros lower. We achieved this especially through lower cost of materials in our operations and in administration and also personnel expenses. Particularly pleased that we succeeded in carrying out the necessary personnel adjustments in a socially responsible way. I'd like to take this opportunity to say a special thank you to our employee representatives for their constructive attitude throughout the process that hasn't always been easy. It's another example of Uniper's team spirit and corporate culture. A solid foundation also requires a reasonable strategy. Such a strategy must identify the company's development prospects, ensure lasting value creation, and protect jobs. We systematically implemented the first phase of the strategy, and i.e. Uniper's consolidation and restructuring in 2016 and 2017. In 2018, we initiated the company's growth phase and decided on first projects, which I'll talk about in a moment. The core of our strategy is to take primarily the higher earnings and cash flow that we expect, especially in our Nordic business, to generate and invest it in activities that are less exposed to energy price fluctuations and thus offer greater earning stability. Our investment priorities include the secure supply of process heat and power to nearby industrial enterprises. We also continue to invest in a secure power supply in countries that reward the provision of this valuable service with capacity payments. In addition, we'll also develop our LNG business to provide markets with a secure supply of natural gas and to diversify our procurement portfolio. Uniper's growth phase, and thus the second phase of the implementation of our strategy, has gotten off to a successful start. I'll start with a summary view of our 2018 financial numbers. Despite all the challenges with regard to our financial targets, Uniper again has kept its word and delivered. Although our operating performance was somewhat weaker, we kept the company on course in an extremely difficult market environment. Our balance sheet went according to plan as well. Achievement of a comfortable investment-grade rating and the early refinancing of our revolving syndicated credit facility represented two important successes in 2018. We've always emphasized that a solid investment-grade rating, by which I mean a BBB, not less and not more, is a necessary condition for the successful continuation of our business. As I said, we've always emphasized that in the past. It's true today and will remain true in the future. Shareholders, the capital markets trust in Uniper is also enhanced in particular by our dividend policy, which calls for us to pay out to shareholders at least 75% of our adjusted funds from operations after maintenance investments. We continue to deliver exactly what we promised here as well. Stable performance of our adjusted FFO enables us to propose a dividend payout of 329 million euros for the 2018 fiscal year. That's somewhat more than we communicated at the start of this year. Compared with the previous year, this dividend proposal represents an increase from 74 to 90 euro cents per share. This puts us right on course for the trajectory we announced in December 2017, which is for our dividend to increase by an average of 25% per year until the fiscal year 2020. We've always said that 2019 will be a transitional year in terms of our cash flow and earnings performance. In the first quarter, a mild winter and several temporary negative effects in our business, power and gas business in Europe were additional adverse factors. All in all, however, our relevant key performance indicators are currently in line with our expectations. Although there's still quite a way to go, we remain confident that we will achieve our targets for the full year 2019. In summary, this means that since our listing, we've always surpassed the market's expectations. Business model works and is being implemented by a motivated and highly qualified team. We have a strong, streamlined business portfolio that equips us well for tomorrow's energy supply, and we do our homework and deliver on our promises. As you can see, we do well to focus on our business, and it's a business that we do very well. We remain true to ourselves and to you. Dear shareholders, Uniper is a global energy company that provides a secure supply of energy and individually tailored energy solutions in an increasingly complex energy world. Our generation portfolio, consisting of conventional coal and gas-fired power plants, zero-carbon hydro capacity, nuclear power in Sweden, along with our long-term gas procurement contract and gas storage facilities, make us a company that stands for secure and reliable energy supply. In addition, sustainability plays a big role for our company, and our value chain is therefore integral to our business operations and our strategy. Uniper has reduced its total carbon emissions by 20% since 2016 and by fully 60% since 2005. Uniper's carbon emissions have therefore fallen at a faster rate than currently foreseen by the European Union's climate targets. Our direct carbon emissions from the combustion of gas and coal to produce power and heat totaled roughly 60 million metric tons in 2018, about 4 million metric tons less than in 2017. And we're also making good progress on other emissions as well. For example, on nitrogen oxide and sulfur dioxide emissions have declined by about 50% since 2016. Our strategic sustainability plan sets other ambitious targets for the next 3 years. We aim to address issues relating to our employees' well-being, strengthen our compliance culture, and shield our company from corruption. In addition, we thought very carefully about what we can do to protect the Earth's climate and to improve the environmental impact of our business. For example, we set a specific group-wide carbon intensity target for 2020. We intend to emit an average of 500 grams of carbon dioxide per kilowatt per hour. With an average of 499 grams in last year, we are right on course to achieve this target. And in addition, we set a target of implementing at least 20 decarbonization projects by 2020. And another objective is to promote low-carbon fuels for energy generation. Being an international energy company makes it essential for us to earn and maintain the trust of our stakeholders, from the people who live near our facilities to representatives of the international community. A relationship based on trust is a prerequisite for positive action. We therefore actively seek to work together with various stakeholder groups in order to ensure transparency and an ongoing dialogue regarding Uniper's activities. In 2018, we deepened our engagement with Better Coal by participating in 4 stakeholder engagement campaigns in Bogotá and in the Cesar and La Guajira regions of Colombia, and hosted 4 international NGO dialogues on issues like coal and climate change. All these activities demonstrate our potential and our willingness to achieve sustainable improvements, and we'll continue to do that and intensify that. All of these activities show our potential and our willingness to make improvements that are sustainable. If you're interested in more information, you'll find it in our current sustainability report, which is published on our homepage. Now, how will Uniper's success story continue? Well, we're expecting a further recovery of wholesale prices from 2019-2020 onward, which will improve our prospects. Because of our conservative hedging strategy, the first positive effects on our earnings will be felt starting in 2020. Our portfolio is already diversified in terms of both geography and generation technology. Going forward, we intend to focus even more on our gas business. With many European countries planning to phase out coal and Germany additionally phasing out nuclear power at the end of 2022, natural gas will play an increasingly important role in ensuring supply security while at the same time propelling decarbonization. Alongside renewables, gas is the key energy source for at least the next several decades. Yet, unlike renewables, the energy provided by gas is always available when and where it's needed. Our flexible gas portfolio makes us the ideal partner for the predominantly renewable energy system of the future. No wind, no sun, no problem. The gas market is growing continually worldwide, and natural gas is part of our DNA. Whereas legacy, independent, reliable, and close to customers lives on in Uniper. We procure natural gas from a broad mix of secure sources, deliver it to our customers by pipeline or as liquefied by ship. And for us, diversification means procuring natural gas at competitive prices from partners worldwide, from Europe, Russia, the United States, and increasingly other regions of the world. This enables us to guarantee a high degree of supply security for consumers and our customers at affordable prices. And we're not standing still. Rather, we're striving to further improve our procurement sources and sales markets globally. The Nord Stream 2 pipeline project, which will make an important contribution to the security of Europe's gas supply, yet it has repeatedly been the subject of public debate and has now become a geopolitical issue. The United States, in particular, continues to threaten sanctions. At the same time, our energy business has extensive business relations with American companies and is active in the US market. A situation like this requires a great deal of finesse and diplomatic skill to avoid getting caught between the milestones. In the past several months, we've gained a lot of experience and through numerous discussions have been able to solidify our position as a reliable energy company for our business partners. At the same time, the construction of the pipeline is progressing very well. Neither the current discussions about the absence of Denmark's approval nor the amendment to the EU gas directive has direct implications for Uniper, which is exclusively a financing partner of the project. And we at Uniper are absolutely convinced that Nord Stream 2 makes energy policy sense, particularly in view of the decline of Europe's domestic gas production. For us, another strategic project for the diversification of Europe's gas imports is the possible construction of an LNG import terminal in Germany. Compared with the other potential sites for the terminal, our proposal, Wilhelmshaven, is the most suitable, and our support for it is already bearing fruit. Right at the start of this year, the project reached important milestones, especially the conclusion of a heads of agreement with US-based ExxonMobil Corporation for a considerable portion of the terminal's regasification capacity. Discussions with other potential capacity users are proceeding positively as well. It's also good to see that the approval process is moving forward as planned. The fact that the LNG market as a whole has generally remained very dynamic has certainly also been beneficial for the entire effort, especially from Europe's perspective. The number of LNG tankers that have landed here recently is ample evidence that our emphatic support for a German import terminal has been absolutely correct. We've also received a lot of support from state and federal policymakers, which is indispensable for the realization of a project of this sort. The German federal government now believes that LNG is so important that it intends to provide financial support for 2 LNG terminals, one in Wilhelmshaven and one in Brunsbüttel. Ladies and gentlemen, rounding off our gas business are the gas storage facilities in Germany, Austria, and the United Kingdom. Uniper is Europe's third largest operator of gas storage facilities. They give customers a high degree of flexibility and are also a mainstay of a secure gas supply. These optimizing and diversified gas activities enable us to play a key role in shaping the energy future. At the same time, we are not losing sight of our own corporate development. On the contrary, we're further enlarging our generation, trading and storage businesses and systematically implementing our corporate strategy by expanding our asset portfolio with projects that we expect to generate stable earning streams. Our competitive advantage at Uniper is that we know power stations because our people have both technical and commercial skills in this field. I'd therefore like to take a quick look at our projects for the future that are already underway. And I'll start with some extremely good news from Bavaria. I'm pleased that transmission system operator TenneT awarded us a contract for a so-called special grid facility to ensure a continued power supply. For this purpose, we'll build and operate a new 300 megawatt gas-fired generating unit at Irsching power station, and that's why it's called Irsching 6. Our new unit, which will will make an important contribution to supply security and to the success of the energy transition in Germany. Project is now in the implementation phase and making good progress. The heart of the Ruhr district has been beating for more than a century in Gelsenkirchen-Scholven district. We operate coal-fired generation units whose operating lifetimes are, however, coming to an end. To maintain this facility viability and to protect jobs, we intend to convert Scholven to natural gas. This will ensure that we can supply nearby industrial enterprises with power and steam and the people of the region with district heating well into the future. The construction of the two combined cycle gas turbines and a steam boiler is scheduled to begin this year and to be completed by 2022 probably. We also have two other big power plant projects that may be familiar from past annual general meetings. I'm talking about our units in Datteln 4 and Berezovskaya 3. In Datteln, we continue to work at full speed to make operational what's likely to be the most technologically advanced hard coal-fired power plants. On average, about 450 to 500 people work at the construction site every day. The assembly of the new boiler is making good progress. Currently, we continue to assume that Datteln 4 will enter service as planned in summer 2020. Something else that makes us optimistic about Datteln 4's future is that in March, the Hams Higher Regional Court again upheld our interpretation of the law by ruling that our customers have to abide by existing contracts. Of course, we've also read the Coal Commission's final report and its recommendations to the German federal government that our power plant should not enter into service. But the recommendation states very clearly that this would require an agreement with us, the operator, as well as adequate compensation. So far, the federal government in Germany has held no such negotiations with us, and in view of the project's enormous investments and contractual obligations, this would require further substantial discussions, including with our customers. Datteln 4 is also of great significance for our corporate planning, i.e. thus for your company. To put it very clearly, once again, it makes much more energy and climate policy sense for the most technologically advanced power plant to be brought online and for older and much more carbon-intensive plants to be shut down. And to be honest, so, no one in Berlin really contests this. We therefore continue to expect the plant to enter into service as planned. But another thing is also very clear. Datteln 4 will be the last coal-fired power plant in which Uniper invests anywhere in the world. We've said so from the very beginning of Uniper, and this is also going to be a promise that we'll keep. Turning to Russia, the construction of Berezovskaya 3, the generating unit, is making steady progress as well and continues to be on the budget and within the budget and within schedule as communicated. Remaining investments total about 13 billion rubles, and we continue to expect the unit to go on stream in the fourth quarter of this year. Let's remain in Russia, where we intend to participate in the country's modernization program for older generation capacity and to invest in the renewal of gas-fired power plants. Here too, our objective is for Uniper to generate stable revenues from capacity payments. The first auction to provide capacity from 2022 to 2024 has already been held. Its preliminary results indicate that Uniper was awarded about 1/4 of the capacity supply agreements up for auction. The second modernization auction for a total of 3.2 gigawatts of capacity to be supplied in 2025 will be held in September 2019. Uniper is studying examining whether to participate in this one as well. This network, our broadly diversified portfolio ideally complements the future energy mix. Will secure tomorrow's sustainable energy supply, or to put it another way, with Uniper, security supply will never become a scarce good. But we're also working with new technologies and business models and opportunities that digitalization can offer to us and our customers. For example, we're convinced that power to gas is a key technology for the energy transition. With scientific support from the Fraunhofer Institute, ISI, Uniper and BP recently submitted a project description to real-life laboratories of the energy transition, an idea competition run by the German Federal Ministry for Economic Affairs and Energy. The purpose of the planned project in Lingen is to demonstrate the technical and economic viability of a power-to-gas unit for the refinery process. The first phase will involve the installation and operation of 50 megawatt electrolysis, and there's also other projects that we're involved in the real-life lab. And for example, we're part of a consortium in Bad Lauchstädt that's also propelling hydrogen production and storage. But power to gas isn't the only technology that can help make the energy supply greener. Producing hydrogen from natural gas and ideally capturing the resulting carbon dioxide is another opportunity. And Uniper is thoroughly studying a relatively new technology called pyrolysis, in which the only byproduct of hydrogen production would be pure carbon. We believe that technologies like these can accelerate the creation of a hydrogen economy before climate-neutral gas from renewables is available in sufficient quantity. We don't consider carbon dioxide or pure carbon to be waste products, but rather to be potentially valuable raw materials for sustainable products. These products could be used, for example, in the chemicals industry and, looking further ahead, in the production of climate-neutral fuels. We believe that we can create new scalable business models based on these products. And all that is also Uniper. We think ahead. We are working today on solutions for tomorrow's energy world. We observe the trends that are changing the world around us. Creating opportunities from these trends is a key challenge for our innovation team. I invite you to have a look for yourself in our dialogue zone in the lobby. Uniper employees will show you examples of our expertise and the diversity and complexity of our portfolio. Ladies and gentlemen, we are shaping the energy world yesterday, today, tomorrow, and in the future. We're developing innovative solutions for the energy future and advocating a market environment that makes their commercial use possible. For us, on the Board of Management, our company's digital transformation is particularly important. We want to actively shape the digital transition and have already brought a number of solutions to market. For example, our team launched a digital platform called Analytics that our customers can use to control and optimize their generating units. In creating Analytics, we drew on our many years of experience as an asset owner and operator and incorporated proven software to develop new applications. Our sales business is also helping actively shape the digital transition and in a non-complicated manner. Uniper Digital is our new and extremely user-friendly online platform that enables our wholesale customers to enter the whole world of energy trading, and they can use a computer or tablet to access automated energy management processes, manage their energy procurement, and coordinate energy purchases and trading. Everything from procurement to delivery works intuitively and only takes a few clicks. And just a short while ago, we launched a smartphone app that gives our customers uninterrupted access to all important information relating to the energy market and even enables them to make adjustments to the procurement portfolio we manage for them. These features allow customers to benefit from our experience and also from the advantages of digitalization. Dear shareholders, together we demonstrate reliably and repeatedly that Uniper, despite the difficult circumstances surrounding our launch, challenging market conditions and unexpected uncertainties, has a firm place in the energy marketplace and that our strategy is convincing. In addition to all the homework that our company can do, the energy policy environment for our business activities plays a key role. The debate about the future of coal-fired power generation remains the predominant topic on Germany's energy policy agenda. I already mentioned the Coal Commission's final report in the context of the planned commissioning of Datteln 4, our technologically advanced hard coal-fired power plant. I'd like to emphasize once again that the Co-Commission's recommendations reflect a broad social consensus. They should be implemented swiftly and not watered down by new proposals from individual players. Responsibility now lies with the Federal Ministry of Economic Affairs to swiftly present specific draft legislation to implement the coal phase-out. Uniper needs clarity and planning certainty quickly. Above all, we owe this to our employees. Overall, there have been positive developments in energy policy. Policymakers in Brussels and in countries where Uniper operates have apparently recognized that they need backup capacity if the transition to a predominantly renewable energy system is to succeed. The issue of security of supply is therefore, fortunately, back on the political agenda. Just a few years ago, for example, the energy-only market was Germany's policy panacea. But now it has fortunately realized that the market alone is not enough. That benefits Uniper. Here's a brief overview of the positive developments. In 2018, in Brussels, new rules on Europe's electricity market design paved the way for the introduction of capacity mechanisms in the member states. With lower carbon emissions, gas-fired power plants are clearly the plants most likely to benefit from capacity payments. In 2020, the European Commission plans to institute far-reaching new rules for Europe's gas market of the future. Germany, too, is assigning gas a key role, especially in view of an accelerated coal phase-out and the accompanying phase-out of nuclear power. The Federal Ministry of Economic Affairs has launched a Gas Dialogue 2030, whose purpose is to lay the groundwork for Germany to have a secure gas supply. It will serve as a forum for the companies concerned and policymakers to thoroughly discuss all relevant issues, including conventional natural gas, green gas, infrastructure, storage facilities, and alternative fuels. We think it's an excellent platform and look forward to its findings. German law's provision for special network facilities, that is, power plants whose primary purpose is not to produce electricity but to stabilize the grid, effectively amounts to the creation of a decentralized capacity market and one exclusively for gas-fired power plants. The Federal Ministry of Economic Affairs' recent announcement that it intends to promote the construction of 2 LNG terminals in Germany also clearly indicates that the federal government's recognition of the need for additional diversification options and its assessment of LNG's future significance. There have also been many positive developments in the federal states, such as in North Rhine-Westphalia, Bavaria, and Lower Saxony, all states in which Uniper operates. These include initiatives to promote hydrogen projects and power-to-gas technologies, as well as calls for improvements in the policy environment for gas storage facilities. In our view, all these developments point in the right direction. In any case, however, they demonstrate that policymakers have recognized that gas is the right alternative to provide backup for a renewable energy system, and that it's important to set the right course without delay. Uniper is represented in these discussions and also in close consultation with policymakers at European level and with federal and state policymakers here in Germany. And I'm confident that our expertise and relevance for our secure energy supply will help improve the energy policy environment. Ladies and gentlemen, a few months ago we announced that we intend to give our relationship with Fortum a fresh start. The purpose was to determine what a partnership between the two companies could look like. If you talk about partnering on projects, it's relatively easy because interests are similar. But as soon as discussion shifts to structural changes, and thus the key elements of our strategy, we have dramatically less leeway. For us as the Board of Management of Uniper, ensuring a stable investment-grade rating is the line in the sand for any type of cooperative arrangement. A report published last year by Standard & Poor's rating agency stated that the takeover of Uniper by Fortum could have grave consequences for our business operations. If Fortum were to acquire a majority stake in Uniper and thus reduce our independence, our rating could be downgraded. In view of Fortum's balance sheet situation, we must always keep this in mind, which does not always make discussions with Fortum about possible solutions easy. especially if Russia is the all-determining issue. We on the Board of Management of Uniper always focus on the best interest of our company, thus all our shareholders, when acting under these difficult circumstances. In the interest of all our shareholders and stakeholders, it is our duty to ensure that our solid investment grade rating is not compromised. This is why we pointed out to Fortum at an early stage the Russian legislation according to which a foreign state-owned group may not operate any so-called strategic assets in Russia. So even in the dangerous situation of hostile takeover in autumn 2017, we acted transparently and responsibly. I very much regret that Fortum is now using this contact as a reason to postpone the forthcoming discharge of the Uniper Board of Management. Ladies and gentlemen, until today, Uniper has been a success story, and at today's annual general meeting, the future of your Uniper is at stake. We, as on the Board of Management, have put forward a viable strategy and good prospects for the company's future development. We've created an energy company that generates and trades energy on a massive scale. We provide individually tailored solutions for complex energy issues. We have a global footprint with our main presence in Europe and selected market. We add value by deftly combining our activities. We provide consulting and energy supply service to our customers, enterprise partners in a straightforward, uncomplicated manner, and want to do this better than other companies. Our actions are transparent and ethically responsible. We're able to establish this successful company only because during this time we enjoyed your trust and support. And on behalf of the Board of Management, our leadership team and our employees, I would like to express our sincere thanks. Today is the first time that I've spoken to you in this forum in place of Klaus Schäfer. It's also the last time that for both of us I'll be presenting your Uniper's performance. The past 3 years of working to create a great company have been a fantastic experience for both of us. I can also speak for Klaus Schäfer if I say that we're leaving with a good feeling and a certain sense of pride, because we have had the privilege of being part of Uniper's success story. I'm sure that our successors, Andreas Schirnbeck and Sascha Bieber, together with Eckhard Römmler and Keith Martin, and Uniper's strong and dedicated team of employees, will tackle the challenges ahead as well. The groundwork has been laid for the Uniper story to continue. We ask you to continue to place your trust in us in the future as well, so that together we can continue our successful course. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm certainly speaking on your behalf too when I thank you, dear Mr. Delbrück, for your comprehensive report. This brings me, ladies and gentlemen, to the report of the Supervisory Board, the detailed version of which you will also find in the printed version of the annual report and in the supplement of May the 3rd, 2019, available on the company's website under the heading Annual General Meeting. I will therefore restrict myself to a summary and some explanations of the activities of the Supervisory Board in the past financial year. In addition to the major operational issues, the challenges of the market environment, political and regulatory developments, the year until summer was marked by the Fortum Takeover Bid. It was marked by Elia's postponed motion for a special audit on the alleged breach of duty by the Management Board with regard to the Takeover Bid, and the difficult way with Fortum to find an appropriate basis for future cooperation. The talks were overshadowed by distrust of the Management Board and Fortum's request to have Uniper in Russia restructure its water business in Surgut in order to remove the restrictions imposed by the Russian Federal Anti-Monopoly Service, FAS, with a view to Fortum's 49.99% stake in Uniper SE. All these challenges had to be dealt with without having clear statements, however, from the majority shareholder Fortum on its medium and long-term plans, or on the allegations made vis-à-vis the management that it had worked against the transaction in Russia. The Supervisory Board is aware that Uniper is far away from normal situation in view of this confusing situation. Not least because of Fortum's demands and the critical voices of shareholders Elliott and Knight Vinke, the Supervisory Board has intensively dealt with the role of the Management Board and its own role as a supervisory body in this special situation. In particular, it obtained a legal opinion from a renowned expert on the question of the duties of the Management Board and the corresponding question of the supervisory and advisory duties of the Supervisory Board in the existing particular situation. The legal opinion comes to the conclusion that the Management Board in the de facto group, that is, in relation to the majority shareholder Fortum, remains entitled and obliged to manage the company autonomously, and that the supervisory task of the Supervisory Board is not limited to mere control based on the past, but it includes an obligation for accompanying monitoring and advice. Due to Uniper's special strategic position, the Uniper Supervisory Board and its members require a high level of control and close monitoring of the activities of the Management Board. Ladies and gentlemen, for the past fiscal year, 2018, I'd like to take a closer look at this challenging work of the Supervisory Board. In 2018, the Supervisory Board of Uniper SE held a total of 4 ordinary and 2 extraordinary meetings in which it dealt with issues of relevance to the company, particularly in connection with the central issue of the future relationship with Fortum and the critical questions posed by shareholders Elliott and Knight Vinke. The discussions and decisions of the Supervisory Board were prepared and followed up in a total of 12 committee meetings, of which 3 meetings of the Executive Committee, 4 meetings of the Audit and Risk Committee, and 5 meetings of the special committee set up specifically to deal with the takeover. The work of the Executive Committee in the second half of fiscal 2018 was largely determined by considerations relating to the composition of the Management Board. I will go into this in detail again. The activity reports of the committees were discussed in detail in the following Supervisory Board meetings. In terms of personnel, there was one change in the Supervisory Board in the financial year 2018. Dr. Mark Speaker, CFO of ENSE and Deputy Chairman and shareholder representative on the board, resigned from the Supervisory Board on July the 16th, 2018, following the completion of the Fortum takeover bid, just after the closing. As his successor, Markus Rauramo, CFO of Fortum, now Uniper's largest shareholder, Successors, was appointed to the Supervisory Board at the request of the Management Board by order of the local court of Düsseldorf on July the 27th, 2018, with effect as of July the 30th, 2018, until the conclusion of a regular election by the annual meeting. On August the 22nd, 2018, Markus Rauramo was elected Deputy Chairman of the Supervisory Board, a member of the Executive Committee, and a member of the Nominations Committee. As the appointment of Mr. Rauramo, as just announced, ends upon the end of today's annual general meeting, the Supervisory Board proposes, under agenda item 7 of today's annual general meeting, the election of Mr. Markus Rauramo as a member of the Supervisory Board based on the recommendation of its Nomination Committee. I'll come back to this in the explanation of the individual items of the agenda. Ladies and gentlemen, last year was characterized by a continued challenging market environment. Although the energy markets in Germany and Europe initially recovered with rising fuel and energy prices on national and international markets, the overall generation margins for thermal power plants remain at a low level. Towards the end of the year, there was also a sharp decline of oil prices, which also had a noticeable impact on global gas and coal prices. In addition, Uniper's business was significantly influenced by regulatory developments. These included in particular the discussions of the Coal Commission in Germany, the planned coal exit in the Netherlands, and the suspension of the capacity market in Great Britain, which was surprising for most market participants. This was due to a ruling of the European Union Court. As we've just been able to see from the Management Board's report on the situation of the company, year 2018 was marked operationally for Uniper by the promotion of major projects in the power plant sector, commitment to projects to secure energy supplies, and activities to achieve a solid rating level. In addition, the focus was on further adjusting cost structures to the challenging market environment by completing the cost-cutting project initiated in 2016. The Supervisory Board dealt in detail with price developments on the national and international energy markets and with the economic situation of the group, on which the Management Board kept us continuously informed. Specifically, we discussed the net assets, financial position and results of operations, employment trends and the earnings opportunities and risks of Uniper as seen in the Uniper Group. We also regularly deal with the development of foreign currencies relevant to Uniper. The Supervisory Board was also regularly informed of developments in the areas of health, safety and environmental protection, in particular the development of key accident figures. A further focus was placed on activities to increase diversity within the company and to ensure the sustainability of Uniper's business, particularly in the coal value chain. Other central topics of our deliberations were the development of European and German energy policies, the ongoing development of regulation, and the overall and economic situation in countries in which Uniper is active, particularly with regard to the respective effects on the various business areas of Uniper. The implementation of the company strategy adopted in late 2017 and its further implementation were discussed in detail. In addition, projects in the strategic fields of innovation and digitalization were discussed. The strategy also included the divestments planned by the company, such as the LNG terminal OLT in Italy or our stake in the Brazilian company Eneva. Current developments in our business activities were discussed in detail. With regard to generation activities, the Management Board informed us, among other things, about the progress of the new construction project, Datteln 4 in Germany, in which the boiler walls had to be replaced due to material-related damage. We also discussed the progress of the repair works at the Russian Beryozovskaya 3 power plant and the associated capacity contracts with the Management Board on an ongoing basis. With regard to the global trading business, we were informed in detail about new procurement and supply contracts and price renegotiation requests of major gas suppliers. Uniper's financial involvement in the Nord Stream 2 pipeline project was also reported on an ongoing basis, particularly in light of any sanction risks. In the LNG business, we focused on business development activities in the United Arab Emirates and the development of a regasification terminal in Wilhelmshaven to diversify gas procurement in Germany. Among the new business approaches reported to us were strategic initiatives in the fields of industrial customer solutions and the modernization of our power plant fleet in Russia. We also heard We've just heard individual examples from Mr. Delbrück in his speech on the state of the company. In addition, the Management Board discussed the Uniper Group's financing requirements with us in detail. In addition, we were continuously updated about the development of the Uniper share on the market, the share restructuring and analyst ratings. I'll come back to Fortum in detail in a moment. We also regularly reviewed the views of the company's relevant rating agencies. This topic is of considerable importance because of its repercussions on our global commodity business. Additionally, we discussed in detail with the Management Board the medium-term planning of the Uniper Group for the years 2019 to 2021 on the basis of updated assumptions on the long-term development of energy and raw material prices, capacity market premiums, and seasonal price differences, and approved the budget for 2019. With regard to the necessary adjustment of costs and organizational structures to the difficult market environment, the Management Board informed us continuously and in detail about the restructuring program implemented for this purpose and the associated negotiations and bargaining agreements and individual employment contracts. From a legal perspective, the Management Board reported in detail on significant ongoing proceedings and negotiations, including long-term supply contracts. Let me now turn to the subject of Fortum's takeover bid and the relationship with its new majority shareholder, or main shareholder, which, as I mentioned at the beginning, had a significant impact on the activities of the Supervisory Board in the reporting year. The Supervisory Board and the Special Committee appointed for this purpose in 2017 dealt intensively with this issue in numerous ordinary and extraordinary meetings in the first half of the reporting year, and closely advised the Management Board, among other things, on the legal, strategic, regulatory and financial implications of the takeover bid. This also included the Supervisory Board's consideration of the request for the appointment of a special auditor by Cornwall, which, in its capacity as a shareholder of Uniper SE, had submitted a request to this effect for the 2018 Annual General Meeting. The 2018 Annual General Meeting had decided to postpone the vote on this agenda item until the next Annual General Meeting, so that this item is to be voted on today as Agenda Item 8. The Supervisory Board had comprehensively examined and legally assessed the allegations made against the Uniper Management Board. On this basis, the Supervisory Board came to the conclusion that the Management Board acted on the basis of sufficient information, complied with all legal and statutory requirements, and acted with due care of a prudent businessman, faithfully complying with its duties exclusively in the interest of Uniper and shareholders. In the opinion of the Supervisory Board, there were no indications of breaches of duty by the Management Board, in particular with regard to the prohibition of obstruction within the meaning of Section 33 of the German Securities Trading Act. The Supervisory Board maintains this view unchanged. I will deal with this separately later under Agenda Item 8. The takeover bid was then completed on June the 26th, 2018. However, the necessary approval was granted by the Russian FAS, Federal Anti-Monopoly Service, on the condition that Fortum may only acquire up to 50% of the voting shares of Uniper. During the financial year 2018, Fortum increased its stake from 47.35% to 49.99%. Although Fortum has stressed, since the closing of the takeover bid in June 2018, that it respects Uniper's autonomy and would cooperate with Uniper in the future, Fortum has repeatedly called on the Management Board to require Unipro to cease or divest those activities that are subject to the Russian Strategic Investment Act. The Management Board of Uniper SE couldn't open itself to this request, irrespective of the fact that Unipro is an independent listed company, because Fortum had not disclosed its medium and long-term intentions regarding its participation in Uniper SE in a transparent manner. A blind decision without sufficient information is denied to the Management Board. Can't take it. This unresolved situation and the strained relationship of trust between the Management Board of Fortum prompted Uniper SE to agree with Fortum at the beginning of the current fiscal year to restructure the future cooperation between the two companies in a structured process. In the course of this, Mr. Schäfer and Mr. Delbrück resigned from the positions on the Management Board. The process of communication is currently managed by Keith Martin and Eckhard Rümmler, the members of Uniper's Management Board responsible for commercial and operative business. In order to establish and deepen collaboration between Uniper and Fortum, regular meetings and discussions have taken place at work and management level in strict compliance with competition and stock corporation law, and as you see, there are no concrete results available yet from these discussions. As you see, Uniper is not closing up against the new main shareholder. It should also not be concealed, however, that Fortum's real strategic objectives continue not to be publicly stated or confirmed, which repeatedly puts a strain on the ongoing communication between Fortum and Uniper. There is yet no clarity with regard to the financial impacts on Uniper. For these reasons, the current state of communication between Fortum and Uniper is viewed critically by individual shareholders. As I said, it was critically viewed. The shareholders, Elliott and Knight Vinke, has applied various requests to supplement the agenda with the objective to instruct the management board to prepare a legal domination agreement with Fortum and/or to prepare the spin-off of various business segments in Russia and Sweden. For this purpose, Uniper yesterday received information from the respective applicants on the 21st of May 2019. It was also publicized that they are not sticking to this supplementary motion, but they are withdrawing them. Therefore, I would not like to speak about these two items in more detail now. Let me now turn to the other topics dealt with by the Supervisory Board. For example, the Supervisory Board dealt with a separate non-financial report as of December 31st, 2018, prepared by the Management Board. An audit firm conducted a limited assurance audit and issued an unqualified audit opinion. After its examination, the Supervisory Board had no objection. Ladies and gentlemen, the Supervisory Board examined the annual financial statements of Uniper SE as of the 31st of December 2018, the combined management report with the group management report, the consolidated financial statements prepared in accordance with IFRS, and the proposal of the Management Board for the appropriation of profits, and took note of the auditor's report with an unqualified audit opinion. As mentioned above, the Supervisory Board also dealt with the dependent company report of the Management Board, its review and the related audit opinion, and was unable to identify any cause for objections. These documents, together with the other documents mentioned under Agenda Item 1 of today's Annual General Meeting, are available to you on the company's website. The Supervisory Board raised no objections to the final results of its examination of the documents. At its meeting on March the 11th, 2019, the Supervisory Board approved and thus adopted the annual financial statements of Uniper SE prepared by the Management Board. The Supervisory Board also approved the consolidated financial statements. The Supervisory Board approved the combined management report, in particular the statements on the future development of the company. We've also examined the Management Board's proposal for the appropriation of earnings to the tune of 0.90 per dividend-bearing share with regard to the company's bearing situation. The proposal is in the best interest of the company, taking into account the interests of its shareholders. Following examination and consideration of all arguments, the Supervisory Board concurs with the Management Board's proposal for the appropriation of profits. According to Fortum's own public statements, Fortum held approximately 49.99% of the shares in Uniper at the end of 2018. There's currently no domination and/or profit and loss transfer agreement with Uniper SE. The Management Board of Uniper SE has prepared a dependency report on Uniper SE's relationships with affiliated companies for the period from June the 26th, 2018 to December 31st, 2018, in accordance with statutory requirements, for which the auditor has issued an unconditional and unqualified audit opinion. The report was also submitted immediately to the Supervisory Board, which examined it and discussed it in detail with the Management Board. Based on its examination, the Supervisory Board came to the conclusion that the Management Board's report on relationships with affiliated companies meets legal requirements. According to the final result of the Supervisory Board's examination, there are no objections to the declaration of the Management Board at the end of the report on relations with affiliated companies. The Supervisory Board has published a corresponding report to the Annual General Meeting on this review of the dependency report and the result of the review. Ladies and gentlemen, I would now like to turn to the subject of Management Board matters. The company was shaken in summer 2018 by the serious disease of our CEO, Klaus Schäfer. Mr. Schäfer's duties were then distributed among the Audit Executive Committee of the Supervisory Board in coordination with the Management Board until further notice. The other members of the Management Board, who, as we've just heard in the report of the Management Board and were able to read in the Management Report of the company, kept the company fully on course. Despite his illness, Klaus Schäfer fully supported his colleagues by attending meetings and discussions relevant on important issues and decisions, and last but not least, through regular discussions with myself. Klaus Schäfer and Christopher Delbrück, and the Management Board as a whole, were burdened by Fortum's continuing distrust with regard to the alleged influence of the Uniper Management Board, and in particular Klaus Schäfer and Christopher Delbrück, in connection with the Fortum takeover bid. Attempts by the Management Board to clarify these burdens in order to create a basis for trustful cooperation have remained unsuccessful. The request to Fortum to substantiate and prove the allegations remained unanswered to date. Our initiative towards Fortum at the beginning of this year to seek a new basis for the development of a strategic cooperation has therefore prompted Klaus Schäfer and Christopher Delbrück to pave the way for a new CEO and a new CFO who, unburdened by the past, can devote all their energy to shaping the future with a new majority shareholder Fortum. They've both made use of the option granted in their employment contracts, the so-called change in control regulation, to resign from their positions as members of the Management Board if a majority shareholder joins the company. At the beginning of February 2019, the Executive Committee of the Supervisory Board therefore reached an agreement with Klaus Schäfer to terminate his employment contract and his appointment as Chairman of the Management Board of Uniper SE. Mr. Schäfer's function as CEO terminates on May 31st, 2019. The Executive Committee of the Supervisory Board also reached an amicable agreement with Christopher Delbrück to terminate his employment contract as of May 31st, 2019. On behalf of my Supervisory Board colleagues too, I would also like to thank Klaus Schäfer and Christopher Delbrück for their great commitment to Uniper, its shareholders and employees, and the trust in cooperation. They haven't only built up Uniper and significantly shaped its strategy and corporate culture, but have also made it one of the most successful companies on the MDAX. Both have thus created an excellent foundation, which now needs to be further developed. At this point, I would now like, I do respect the decision of the two gentlemen, and I would personally like to thank you for your outstanding cooperation. At this point, I would now like to introduce the successors to Mr. Schäfer and Mr. Delbrück. We're pleased that we have been able to recruit Mr. Andreas Schierenbeck as our new CEO, Mr. Sascha Biebert as our new CFO. Both will take up their activities with us on the 1st of June 2019. Andreas Schierenbeck studied electrical engineering and in his almost 30-year career has held a wide variety of management positions at home and abroad. Due to his many years of experience at Siemens and ThyssenKrupp, he is familiar with the structures of large and internationally active companies. From his last position as chairman of the Management Board of ThyssenKrupp Elevators, one of the most successful and profitable divisions of the ThyssenKrupp Group, Mr. Schierenbeck also brings a high level of expertise in the design of industrial customer solutions and digitalization. I'm delighted that with Mr. Schierenbeck, his broad international experience, his unbiased view from another industry, and his high solution competence, we have been able to win an outstanding candidate for the position of CEO of Uniper. Mr. Biebert has a degree in business and administration and is a certified financial analyst. He started his career as a senior analyst at Allianz Global Investors. He was then senior vice president at Munich Re. He was responsible for investor and rating agency relations. A good 10 years ago, Mr. Biebert moved to the Aon Group, where he held various management positions in finance. Since then, the past 5 years as CFO of the Turkish subsidiary Enerjisa, which was successfully listed on the stock exchange after a spin-off in 2018. I have known Mr. Biebert for more than 10 years, and I'm pleased that we found him as an expert, an insider from the industry and the capital market. As a supervisory board, we agree that Mr. Schierenbeck and Mr. Biebert, together with Keith Martin and Eckert Rommel, will harmonize very well as members of the management board of Uniper. Personally, I'm convinced that the two new members of the management board will also fit in perfectly and enrich our current corporate culture and values. With this top management, we will continue to successfully master the enormous challenges of a constantly changing energy world and our business environment. In addition, the Supervisory Board has set the target achievement of the Management Board members for 2018 as scheduled. The 129% figure for adjusted funds from operations, our cash flow-oriented control parameter used for this purpose, reflects the good business results of fiscal 2018. The achievement of the personal goals of the Management Board members was assessed as fully achieved, that is, 100% overall. In addition, it was taken into consideration that Mr. Delbrück, Mr. Martin and Mr. Rummler assumed additional duties of considerable scope due to Mr. Schäfer's absence due to illness, resulting in a personal value of 120% for each of them. On behalf of the entire Supervisory Board, I would like to take this opportunity to thank the Management Board and the entire workforce once again for their outstanding and successful work. Even in such a difficult situation, you have been able to steer our ship safely. This concludes the report of the Supervisory Board at this point, and it takes me back to the other items on the agenda. Agenda item 1 concerns the resolution on the appropriation of net profit. As of today, the company doesn't hold any of its own shares. An update of the proposed resolution is therefore not advisable. The proposed resolution therefore remains unchanged. To use the balance sheet profit of Uniper SE for fiscal 2018 in the amount of 329,364,000 euros in full, by distributing a dividend of 90 for each no par value share entitled to dividend. Agenda item 3 provides for the discharge decision for the members of the Management Board in office in the 2017 financial year. After last year's annual general meeting of Uniper SE decided to postpone the resolution on the discharge of the members of the Management Board for fiscal 2017 until the subsequent annual general meeting of Uniper SE, this year's annual general meeting will now decide under agenda item 3 on the discharge of the members of the Management Board for fiscal 2017. Agenda items 4 and 5 provide for the discharge decision for fiscal 2018 for the acting members of the Management Board and the Supervisory Board. The election of the auditor is then to be dealt with under agenda item 6. In addition to the audit of the annual financial statements, the appointment for possible audit of interim financial statements is now the subject of the election decision. Under agenda item 7, the election of Markus Ramo to the Supervisory Board of Uniper SE is to be resolved. I already said a few words about this at the beginning of the Supervisory Board's report. As mentioned before, after shareholder representative Dr. Mark Spicker has resigned from office with effect as of the 16th of July 2018, a new shareholder representative must be elected to the Supervisory Board. The Supervisory Board of Uniper SE proposes Markus Rauermer for election to the Supervisory Board based on the recommendation of the Nominations Committee of the Supervisory Board. Markus Rauermer has been a member of the Supervisory Board of Uniper SE since July 13th, 2018, due to court appointment. However, such court appointment only has a substitute function, and Mr. Rauermer's office as a court-appointed member of the Supervisory Board ends as soon as a new ordinary member of the Supervisory Board is elected by the annual general meeting. Further information on Dr. Spieker's resignation from office and the court appointment of Mr. Rauermer and on the person of Markus Rauermer can also be found in the invitation brochure. However, I would like to take this opportunity to introduce Mr. Rauermer to you personally today. Markus Rauermer has been CFO of Fortum since 2017 and is therefore a member of the management board of Uniper's largest shareholder. Mr. Rauermer has held various positions at Fortum since 2012. Prior to that, Mr. Rauermer held various management positions in the financial sector of the internationally active Stora Enso Group. Before joining Fortum, Markus Rauermer was CFO of Stora Enso in Helsinki from 2008 to 2012. Markus Rauermer brings not only valuable industry knowledge, but also international experience on board. The Supervisory Board is satisfied that Markus Rauermer will be able to afford the expected time. In addition, when submitting the election proposal, the Supervisory Board also took particular account of the requirements of the German Corporate Governance Code and the objectives specified by the Supervisory Board for its composition. In the meetings of the Supervisory Board and its committees, Mr. Rauermer repeatedly emphasized that, as a member of the Supervisory Board, he feels exclusively committed to the corporate interests of Uniper SE and accordingly doesn't participate in Fortum's deliberations and decisions regarding its participation in Uniper. In the event of election, Mr. Rauermer has declared that he accepts office. Ladies and gentlemen, this brings us to agenda item 8. Agenda item 8 provides a decision on the appointment of a special auditor. Following the convening of the annual general meeting of Uniper SE last year, Uniper SE received, within the statutory period, a request from the shareholder Cornwall, based in Luxembourg, to add items to the agenda of the annual general meeting of Uniper SE of June 6, 2018. As a result, the agenda of last year's annual general meeting of Uniper SE has been extended by a corresponding agenda item entitled Resolution on the Appointment of a Special Auditor. The annual general meeting of Uniper SE on June 6, 2018 then resolved to postpone the resolution on the appointment of a special auditor and the discharge of the management board for the 2017 fiscal year until the subsequent annual general meeting of Uniper SE, which is why a resolution on the appointment of a special auditor under agenda item 8 and under agenda item 3 on the discharge of the management board for the 2017 financial year is now to be passed at this year's annual general meeting. According to the request for the appointment of a special auditor, the purpose of the special audit shall be to examine the following management procedures. Firstly, all actions and measures taken by the management board of Uniper SE since September the 20th, 2017, with respect to the voluntary public takeover bid by Fortum Deutschland SE for the acquisition of no par value registered shares of Uniper SE, as well as the intended, possible and actual consequences of such actions and measures for the success of the takeover bid, as well as all related internal and external communication of the management board of Uniper SE, including each and any direct or indirect, via employees, group companies or external devices, communication with the regulatory authority. Secondly, all actions and measures of the management board of Uniper SE taken since September the 20th, 2017, with respect to the takeover bid and a clearance under Russian Strategic Investment Act for the Russian subsidiary Unipro and/or Russian regulatory authorities, as well as the intended, possible, and actual consequences of these actions and measures for the success of the takeover bid have been met. In particular, any actions and measures in connection with the inclusion of Uniper in the Register of Natural Monopolies and the resulting qualification of Uniper as a strategic investment under Russian law, as well as all related internal and external communication of the Management Board of Uniper SE, in particular any direct or indirect, via employees, etc., communication with Russian regulatory authorities, unquote. As already explained in detail at last year's annual general meeting, the Supervisory Board made a detailed written statement on the special audit request in a statement published on the Uniper SE website on May the 13th, 2018. In this opinion, the Supervisory Board recommended that the motion for resolution on agenda item 6 be rejected, as there was no reason for the appointment of a special auditor requested by the shareholder Cornwall, and it wasn't in the interest of Uniper SE or its shareholders. From the point of view of the Supervisory Board, there was no evidence that the Management Board of Uniper SE had taken any measures and had taken any action which would have been likely to impede or even frustrate the takeover bid of Fortum a subsidiary of the Finnish energy utility Fortum, for 7th November 2017, following a review of the facts in connection with the takeover bid and the actions taken by the Management Board in the course of the bid, as well as the legal evaluation, there were no indications of any breaches of duty by the Management Board. In particular, the Management Board had not violated the prohibition of obstruction pursuant to Section 33 of the German Securities Trading Act. The effort and cost of the requested special audit would be neither necessary nor appropriate. The Supervisory Board's detailed statement of May 2018 on a special audit request, which I would like to refer to here for detailed information, will of course continue to be available on Uniper SE's website under the heading Annual General Meeting.
In view of the adjournment resolution of last year's annual general meeting of Uniper SE and the resulting renewed consideration of the special audit request by the annual general meeting this year as well, the Supervisory Board once again dealt with the special audit request. We found that the facts on which our statement of May 2018 was based have remained unchanged since then. In addition, the Supervisory Board sees no reason for a different legal assessment of the facts as against May 2018, in particular despite repeated requests to Fortum to submit evidence proving a breach of duty by the Management Board. No such evidence has been submitted to the Supervisory Board. Furthermore, the takeover bid of Fortum Deutschland SE was closed on June 26, 2018, so that objectively nothing occurred that prevented the closure of the takeover bid. Nevertheless, Fortum has not yet clearly and definitely positioned itself for the special audit. The Supervisory Board is therefore sticking to its recommendation of May 2018 and continues to recommend that the request to appoint a special auditor be rejected. Agenda item 9 contains the proposal to authorize the company by cancelling existing authorization to acquire and use treasury shares for the period up to May 22, 2024. The wording of the proposed authorization has been published in the Federal Gazette, together with the invitation to the annual general meeting that is also available to you in the invitation brochures. I'll therefore refrain from presenting the details of the admittedly very technical authorization here again. The report of the Management Board to the annual general meeting required in this connection pursuant to Section 71, Para 1, Number 8, in conjunction with Section 186(4), Sentence 2 of the Stock Corporation Act on any exclusion of subscription rights, has also been made available to you as part of the invitation brochure. In addition, the report of the Management Board has been available on the Uniper SE website under the heading Annual General Meeting as part of the invitation brochure, since the convening of the annual is now available for inspection together with further documents at the information desk. For detailed information on the various acquisitions and disposals of the proposed authorization, please refer to the report of the Management Board on agenda item 9 in the invitation brochure. However, I would like to briefly reiterate the following, the explanations of the Management Board on the purpose of the authorization contained in the report of the Management Board. Authorization is intended to enable the company to continue to acquire its own shares and to redeem them for various purposes. In addition to the direct or indirect payment of the purchase price for acquisitions and the satisfaction of claims by creditors of bonds with conversion or option rights or conversion obligations, the purposes here may include in particular allocation to employees of the company or its affiliated companies and the resale of the shares. According to its report, the Management Board will be guided solely by the interests of the shareholders, and Uniper SE when deciding on the use of its own shares, and will also report on the annual general meeting on any utilization of the proposed authorization. Ladies and gentlemen, this brings me to this year's supplementary requests. At the request of two shareholders, on item 10, we have the preparation of the conclusion of a domination agreement under items 11A and B, preparation of spin-offs and the relevant proposed resolutions. Here, the company was informed by the shareholders on the 21st of May 2019, yesterday, and it was also publicized by them that they would not stick to these supplementary requests, but that they withdraw them. And for that reason, before starting the general debate, I will now have a vote on the withdrawal of agenda items 10 and 11A and B.